I'm going to share a little bit about something that's been going on with me, and within that, a little bit of a plea for you. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. I'm Peggy Oliveira. Thanks so much for being here. Make sure to subscribe and click the bell for notifications. So I'm doing this in part related to a video that I did recently on asking your therapist personal questions. So I've actually had a few of you reach out to me from the community, and I've had a couple clients ask as well. So I thought I would share this video with all of you because as a group of predominantly childhood trauma survivors, you tend to be very observant. And so even if you haven't asked, it's possible you might have noticed something going on. So I have been wearing a lot of high-collared shirts for the last few months. I tend to wear quite a few of them anyway because I wear a lot of sleeveless shirts and they tend to be high-collared quite often. And in the last month or so, you may have seen a video and noticed this nice little new scar here. And prior to April, actually over the last few years, you may have noticed, and I know at least a couple of you have, that there were a couple of little red dots here. And now there's a scar there. So I wanted to share that with you, or share with you why that is, also as a bit of a cautionary tale. So the plea ultimately is, please pay attention to your body. Whether it's a new symptom or a pain or a series of various symptoms over a period of time, something internal, something external, please pay attention and get it checked. This can really be one of the most powerful forms of self-care to help in your healing. And there are a number of reasons that it can be challenging to acknowledge that there might be something there and to talk to your doctor about it, no matter what it is. And gynecological issues can be especially challenging. But whatever it is, the plea is, please pay attention and honor yourself and what's happening with your body. Okay. So, I'm going to try not to make this very long, so I'm going to try to do this relatively in a short space in terms of this. So, you may have noticed in some of my videos that a few years ago, I had a couple of red dots, spots on my chest, and sometimes they were a little bit more noticeable than others. Well, I kept ignoring it. I did mean to talk to my doctor about it, but I forgot when I was there, and so I just kept putting it off. And finally, this year, nothing was specifically different. I was just this year trying to focus on making sure that I followed through with all of the health things that I needed to do and all of that. Got my eyes checked and all the fun stuff. But I went in April to the dermatologist for the first time since 2016. After living in Arizona, living in Florida, being in the sun a lot, I took all that time off from going to the dermatologist, which is not good. Especially as you get older, not good. Anyway, I finally went to the dermatologist, and almost as soon as she saw me, she said, "Looks like skin cancer." And I was quite shocked because I had been aware of melanoma. I paid attention, like for me, as somebody who had not experienced skin cancer, didn't really know anybody that had a significant skin cancer or anything like that. I paid attention to melanoma, and if there was a mole that changed or something like that, I paid attention to it. But these were red spots. These were not what I typically think of in terms of melanoma. And so I went and she said, looks like skin cancer. And she was kind of very casual about it. And she said basal cell carcinoma. And to me, that didn't mean much because I don't know the difference really. But she said it's not usually significant. It grows very slowly. It doesn't usually metastasize. But it definitely needs to be checked and removed if it is. And so she did the biopsy. A couple of weeks later, I get the call that it is, in fact, skin cancer, basal cell carcinoma. So when I got the news, I was shocked because, again, it didn't fit my idea of what skin cancer was. And I was also incredibly annoyed with myself because it had been there since at least 2019. And I know that because I intended to talk to my doctor when I went for my physical in 2019, but I forgot. And then I didn't want to make another appointment to go in. Thought, well, just, if it's still there, I'll bring it up next year. Well, next year was COVID, and that's why I remember the dates. So I didn't see her in person and didn't bring it up. But I was really annoyed with myself because I knew it was there and it would flare up every once in a while, get kind of itchy. The bigger spot would get a little scab on it every once in a while, but I just kept blowing it off and wasn't concerned about it. And that annoyed me because I should know better, right? And while I was waiting actually for the pathology results, again, not really knowing, not having experience with skin cancer, I was kind of concerned about, could it be something more significant? Could it have spread and that sort of thing? And so I was really kind of beating myself up about not going sooner to have it checked. So, please, if you notice anything different appearing on your body, please get it checked. So I scheduled the procedure and I opted for a Mohs procedure, which is a particular way that they remove skin cancer, where they remove as kind of a small amount as possible. You wait while they check it. If they don't have enough of a clear margin, you come back the same, like you're just waiting in the waiting area. You come back in, they remove a little bit more, they check it again. If there's still not enough of a clear margin, you keep coming back. But basically you leave that day knowing that you are skin cancer free. So I wanted that, particularly because I had 2 spots that were both cancerous. I didn't want to have to worry about coming back and having more done and taking time and all of that. So the interesting thing about this is that I assumed that the big spot, the spot that bothered me, would be the bigger area of cancer. But it turns out that in fact was not the case. The amount of tissue that they needed to take out for the smaller red spot actually ended up being bigger than the spot that they took out for the bigger visible spot. So I hope that makes sense. And so this is part of the cautionary thing here. If I had not had that bigger spot, especially with it sometimes getting like a little scab thing on it, if it had only been that small spot, I don't know that I would have even brought it to anybody's attention. It really wouldn't have even been on my radar probably if it wasn't right next to that bigger spot. But that's the spot that seems, anyway, where they did actually, because I saw it, I took a picture of it, I'm curious about that stuff. That area, they removed more tissue from than the more obvious area. So the point in sharing that part is, and this is true for something that we might notice on our body or happening in our body, we have to pay attention. Our bodies deserve it. Our being, our soul deserves for us to pay attention and honor what might be happening within us. There was something that came up in a session years ago, a client who was really struggling a lot with a very significant eating disorder and potentially creating long-term complications for her, physical complications for her. And I remember saying to her that, and it was an emotional experience because I was very concerned about her. And I remember saying to her, you're doing this work to heal emotionally. You're doing the work to heal the trauma so that you can live your life, because she was relatively young, so that you can have the rest of your life in front of you, living the life that you deserve to live, living it from that place of freedom and ease in your life. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but how tragic would it be to do all this healing work and get to that place where emotionally you feel that sense of freedom and ease in your life, but then you can't enjoy your life because there are medical complications because of what you're dealing with right now. Just how sad and heartbreaking that would be. Because so many of the issues that we have, medical issues that we have, chronic issues that so many survivors tend to have, they get worse over time, right? Like right now, they may be little things here or there that you just learn to live with. But the more that it happens, the more impact it has on you. So even like chronic stress, that impacts your system, your endocrine system. It impacts your organs because it impacts your endocrine system. And while the impact of that may not seem significant now, it can have an impact on you later down the road. Just as though I did the majority of my healing quite a long time ago at this point, I still sometimes struggle with some gastrointestinal issues, not nearly to the degree that I did, but I have the long-term kinds of issues. The things that I have to keep going and getting checked every so often, even before I reached the age of 50. But it creates lasting impact long after you've done the emotional healing. And you deserve to live your life free of pain and discomfort. You deserve to live in a body that feels good, that moves freely, that feels energized, and isn't in pain or discomfort. So no matter what it is, whether you notice something new on your body or a symptom, and it might seem like a really small thing, insignificant thing, but if you were to track that thing every day, if you were to track anything that you notice in your body every day, you might be surprised how significant it is for you. Not necessarily in terms of intensity, but in terms of chronic, being a chronic thing that is there day after day after day. And sometimes it's pain, sometimes it's a feeling, a discomfort, an experience that you have after certain types of situations. Please go to the doctor. It is very common for people who have experienced childhood trauma to have a lot of gastrointestinal issues, and that can run the gamut from a lot of like heartburn and colitis and IBS and Crohn's disease. Lots of different types of issues. Very common for that to be the case. And the sooner you get those symptoms checked, the sooner maybe you can get treatment, the sooner you can begin doing things differently to help mitigate some of those symptoms, the better you'll feel. It is hard to feel good emotionally when you don't feel good physically. Gynecological issues are incredibly common for women who've experienced sexual trauma, whether it was one time, and especially if it was more than one time, and especially if there was any sort of physical pain, gynecological pain, internal pain, or penetration. Even if there wasn't necessarily a lot of pain, but penetration at a very early age. There can be a lot of gynecological issues, and sometimes those can be treated. And again, the symptoms, the pain, even the issues that you have can be mitigated significantly. So please pay attention, honor what is there, practice this incredibly powerful form of self-care by getting help, talking about it. I've seen this happen with people even outside of trauma, but when they're struggling with like a medical issue or a physical symptom that is kind of chronic and ongoing, and maybe it changes a little bit, or maybe it ebbs and flows, but they keep putting it off and they finally go. And just the act of talking about it and knowing that something is being done about it, even if nothing needs to be done, but it's out there, it's been said, it's been looked at, it's been considered, there can be such a sense of relief and release in that. Just that by itself. It can also create some vulnerability, but that release can be actually quite significant. And yes, you may have to do some tests, which may not be pleasant, but then you can get the help, the treatment, whatever that you need. So please, whether it's internal or external, please talk to somebody. Please get the help, the support, the treatment, the tests, whatever it is that you need. Of course, I talk all the time about getting help for healing emotionally and struggling emotionally. But our physical well-being is obviously just as important. And it's important for the long term, because ignoring your body now isn't just impacting you now. It has the potential to impact you throughout the rest of your life. Please get checked. And again, I want to reiterate that my skin cancer, I had 2 spots. They are gone completely. No ongoing concerns, nothing else happening there. And I have had my physical, I've had all the other kinds of tests I need to have, and I'm good. I'm very healthy, very fortunate, because I had like my first mammogram when I was in my early 30s. I had my first colonoscopy when I was in my early 30s because I had some different symptoms. I am pretty good about having the other kinds of exams, gynecological exams and all of that, because that has been part of my healing, taking care of my body, taking care of my health and well-being has been a part of that. And it's not perfect. As I pointed out, I went at least 4 years. Yeah, 4 years with those spots on my chest, visible every day, ignoring it. And I'm pretty confident that had I gone earlier, I've got a lot of scars for a lot of different reasons, but had I gone earlier, this scar probably would not be as big as it is. But I waited. So I would love to hear from you in the comments. What did you notice coming up for you? Were you reminded of something that you've been ignoring? Are you noticing something that feels present now? Are you noticing a desire, a resistance, maybe even to move away from this? Are you going through in your mind all the ways to discount that feeling, that pain that you just kind of put off? Think of this as an important part of your emotional healing. because it is an important part of self-care. And self-care, when done intentionally, helps you trust in your sense of worthiness. It does. So share in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up. And again, if you haven't yet subscribed, make sure to do so and click the bell for notifications. Thanks so much for watching. I'll look forward to seeing you next time.